So, why do you have to have a specific college class on communication? That's because college communication has different expectations of you than perhaps high school education did. Now, some of you may have taken college prep type courses that hopefully prepared you for college. But the thing is, we want to be sure that you can go into your further college classes and be successful in transforming into academic writing. Now, what's the non-academic writing? That's more of a social, conversational, colloquial kind of chat. We want to move from that social conversation into academic conversation. In many ways, this college communication is broader. We're looking for a broader communication than you've had previously, perhaps in high school. In high school, it may have been that writing essays was only for your ELA classes. But in college, we're looking for you to maybe write essays in a science class or a history class or even a math class sometimes. So we are going to require communication of some sort in every class setting. And it may not be that you only communicate in a specific language class. Another way that communicating in college needs to be broader, perhaps, than what you have experienced before is that you're going to make holistic connections between subjects. You will still have separate classes for separate subjects, just like you did in high school, but we're hoping that you are going to connect them all and you're going to start connecting dots between those different topics and figure out how they work together holistically to make our little world spin around. And the third way that we want you to start thinking more broadly is that you'll consider all things considered before you start to have an opinion on something. You'll do research before you start your writing. So you'll be broadening your perspective about a topic before you reflect on it. While in some ways we want our communication to be broader, in other ways we want it to be narrower. The first way we narrow our communication for college is to specialize our research and plan our research. Our research is specialized and planned out in a way that we probably aren't going to get our information from the same kind of sources as the general public. In my freshman English 101, I have my students look at their peers' paper and give feedback, and then that student needs to change their report based on the feedback they received. If the source that you are using for your paper has not been peer reviewed, then that source is not even as good as your paper when it comes to credibility. We are looking for high quality source support. Another way that we narrow our communication in college is to consider a very specific audience. That audience in high school may have been your teacher, who is very specific, but a lot of times high school writing considers and speaks to the whole world. We have this ephemeral audience that we are speaking to. In college, we are talking to other experts in our given field. In the very least, you're talking to someone who is specifically taking the class you are taking, or who is specifically in the major you are studying. And the last way that college communication is narrower than perhaps the former communication you've used in more casual settings is that it is critical and has incredible analytical attention to detail. We're using critical thinking to analyze what we're reading, and then we're using critical thinking to analyze what we have written, and we're using critical thinking to analyze what our peers have written, and they are using their critical thinking to analyze what we have written. This requires an incredible attention to detail. So we are perfecting our writing, and sometimes that means we are narrowing its scope. So the fact that we are getting broader in some areas and narrower in other areas is kind of like honing an art skill. It just so happens that the term rhetoric, which is what we'll be studying in our class quite a bit, it's a term that is popular for classes about argument and communication. Rhetoric is the art of persuasion. We can persuade someone in many different ways that are not exactly artistic. I can persuade someone to do just about anything by holding a gun to their head. That is not artistic. I can persuade my children with candy really quickly. That's not really artistic either. But if I had to persuade someone using my critical thinking skills, it would end up being a very artistic way. How can I get that person to be motivated to make the change that I want them to make without forcing them or bribing them? So here are 5 ways that you are going to work on your rhetoric, your art of persuasion in this class and in college communication in general. Number 1, you will be using an academic tone. That means that the words you choose, or also known as your diction, is going to be one that is of higher level thinking. It'll be an academic tone. You'll choose academic words, not the words that you text your friends, probably not similar words that you'll use with your puppy, and maybe not even words that you'll use all the time in our class. We'll choose our words specifically, and that will be easier when we plan. The second way we're going to improve our rhetoric or our art is by organizing our argument. Organizing how we will persuade someone to make the change we want them to make. By organizing our work, we're making sure that it's not scattered and that our audience is going to follow our points. We're also making sure that we aren't meandering and putting our audience to sleep. The third way we're going to hone our art of persuasion is using academic format. In this class, which is an English class, we are going to use MLA format, or the Modern Language Association. In some other classes, you may use Chicago, Turabian, APA, but in this class specifically, we're using academic format. I'll make a video later about why we use academic format specifically, but for now, what you most need to know is that academic format shows your audience without reading a word that you are an academic. You can glance at a formatted paper and know that that person wrote it in an academic way. The fourth way we're going to increase our rhetoric in this class is by using scholarly source support. If we are expected to be scholarly in this class and academic, then why would we use unacademic, non-academic, unscholarly, casual sources to support the claims we make? We will be building up an argument, and if we use not so great sources, that argument is going to fall apart. We have to build our academic argument on a firm foundation of academic sources. And I know you're wondering, isn't this an English class? When's all the grammar coming? The last way that we are going to hone our art of persuasion is by using conventional grammar and punctuation. Now, I left that for last for a reason. Grammar and punctuation vary so greatly, and you may have had teachers in high school who knocked off so many points for incorrect comma usage. What we focus on in college is clarity. Punctuation and grammar help you to make your message clear, where there are no questions what your intent is for that sentence. With clarity being our focus, I hope that you can let go of any preconceived notions that you'll be judged for every single tiny punctuation mark. But it is, however, a sign to other academics that you know not just what you're talking about, but how to talk about it. So in college communication, we're going to try to have a broader mind, a narrower focus, and we're going to aim for art.